Hello, everybody. I am about ready to do a reading regarding the Delphi, Indiana case back from 2017 regarding Abby and Libby. I'm not going to go into the details of that. It's a tragic case involving a 13 and a 14-year-old, two little girls. So, look them up if you don't know what this case is about. They deserve, justice. So, I'm really interested to see what we're going to see in these readings, but I do have to preface this with, this is for entertainment purposes only. These are my views, my opinions that come forth. And if it doesn't resonate with you, just shut off just change the channel. It's not that difficult. We're all adults here. So I am going to start shuffling the cards. Also, I kind of want to tell you that I do not read the cards like most people do. And I was thinking about actually, after this reading, to do another video regarding how I read the cards, specifically the Marie Lenormand cards, because many people are confused. It's like, oh, it's like she's spouting off a movie or whatever. And like I said, I will explain all of that and how I do my cards. I've been doing this for 37 years, and I have my own method. It's not a written method. This is something that I have taught myself how to do, and it incorporates different types of, like tuning in is how I'd like to say it. I'm tuning in to the specifics of what I'm asking about. With that being said, here we go. Abby and Libby. Now, I did shuffle the cards a little bit before we started. One more. Abby and Libby. Okay, so already I'm going to show you something, and I don't know if you see it or not. Now, I do incorporate the symbols, but also the patterns of the cards, and it puts me in a mindset. And like I said, I'm going to do another video about this and on how I read my cards. But I also want to show you. So there is the tree. I don't know if you can see that or not. People had asked me to explain it, so this is why I'm doing this. And the clouds. So the tree is, in all actuality, it's the tree that was marked with the Fehu symbol. And there's doubts. And the birds. The birds represent, to me, because I have different meanings related to all tarot cards, really. But the birds mean to me lots of online activity. Okay, so let's go on. And I never put my cards reversed, and like I said, I'll tell you why. And I'm hoping to do another video after this. It just depends on how drained I am. So let's go on. Interesting. Okay, so I want to start saying stuff, but I'm gonna stop myself. I'm gonna wait until all the cards are on the table. All right. Ooh. Okay. Oh, my table's not exactly big enough. I'm planning on hoping to fix that soon. So, okay. So, all right. So, right off the bat, I'm going to say something. People, okay, we were looking to see if there was any involvement with the Odin connection, any kind of Odinistic, ritualistic type killing, and I can tell you right now, there is none of that. There is so much smoke and mirrors regarding this case. So, oops, I'll get into this. So, the smoke and mirrors. Oh, I don't even know where to begin. This case has scared a lot of people. It's just, for that little town, this case is way too big. The judge saw it. The first initial judge had seen this and backed out of it. This judge was, yeah, I'm not going to deal with this. So there was some leaks, which we all know, and that's verified here. But I kind of want to get to the person that is being charged with this, and my cards are showing that this person is actually the one that did it. So, and how I can tell that, like I said, I need to do another video regarding how I do my card readings, and it will explain a lot. But this person has a right to a trial, innocent until proven guilty kind of thing. So what I say is my opinion for entertainment purposes only, but I'm going to tell you right now, straight off of the bat, it's showing that he's guilty. So he has done these, and solely him. Now this man, Richard Allen, I do believe is his name, they have the right man in custody, and there's going to be a lot more evidence that's going to come forward regarding his role in this. It doesn't just show it initially, but when they get into the trial, it will definitely be, oh, well, there's no doubt that this man has done this. So it's very difficult because I have to delve into some dark places with these readings, and he is definitely dark. He hides it. He hid it from his family. Think about the BTK killer people. His family had no idea the type of person he was, and this is the exact same thing with this man. Now there are little certain circumstances, like when he gets inebriated, he has a tendency to be a little bit more violent. This man doesn't show emotion. He doesn't express emotion. He doesn't give compliments. His wife actually deserves a medal for putting up with this man for so long. Regardless of all that he had done, she's a trooper. She had blinded herself to all of his faults in order to keep the marriage together. So he has like split personalities. Okay, so, and I have to tell people, you never truly know someone. I don't care how long you've been married to him. I don't care. You never truly know someone. So she was completely oblivious to this. Their daughter was as well, although she did kind of get secretly a little bit creeped out by him. He'd like watch her, she'd catch him watching her. This man has, according to my reading and my interpretation, this man has a feeling, or like I can't really say it here, but he had feelings towards his daughter. So he had so many fantasies. This man had a lot of fantasies. And I don't know if I want to skip towards just the actual event or what, but I think I probably should for the the time involved regarding this reading. So actually, I think that it's going to show if they're able to take any kind of information from his phones, his older phones, and hopefully his computer. It's going to show that he's had very dark fantasies regarding, I hate to say it out loud, but it's like his daughter and younger girls, like just entering puberty. So what I can tell is that he has done this before. He moved house. He moved his place of residence because he had done this before, but it was to one girl. I don't know. It feels like to me it was about 10-ish years before this happened in Delphi. And this girl looked identical to his daughter as well. So let's skip forward. So we're going to 2017, and he is going to that hiking spot, the Manone. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. The Manone Bridge hiking trail. Actually, he's done that a lot. He went there so many times. Excuse me. And he fantasized so much regarding this place. And he also, it was like a monster inside of him that he couldn't control. The fantasies would build up over time. He's, I believe, a serial killer, but he would do it between a span of 10-ish years. So let's go back to the hiking trail. So he had gone there so many times. He had actually watched people, spied on people when they would go walking. He would hide in the woods. He would just kind of test out his prowess, so to speak, so many times before Abby and Libby came along. Now, he did see Abby and Libby before from where he had worked. He was instantly attracted to Libby, not Abby. He wanted Libby. So he decides to go to his favorite fantasizing spot, right? And this is the day of February 13th, 2017. And so he goes there and he's fantasizing and he has a purpose. His purpose is to go there. He always and absolutely has always brought the items that he has always brought with him. There was a gun, a sharp-edged weapon. I don't know if I'm allowed to say these things on YouTube. and a rope. So he's always had these 3 items on him whenever he'd go hiking, just in case he comes across someone that he cannot resist. So then, you know, the fantasy's building up, building up. He feels like he could really get away with it. He is completely gone through all of those woods around that area. He knows that area very well. So then he goes February 13th, 2017. He goes there with his usual items. Just because he always does. It's part of his fantasy. He never goes there without those items, just in case. It's just part of it for him. So he goes there, and you know, and this is like regular online stuff that he had passed some girls at the beginning of, I think it was called the Freedom Bridge, but I'm not sure. And he walks across the Manon Bridge, and he goes and passes another lady. He stops at the end of the bridge, hangs out for a bit, and decides, oh, this is just, I'm just going to go back. So he actually ends up going back across the bridge, and in so doing, he runs across Abby and Libby. He sees them, and he says to himself, this is it. This is the time. Because Libby fits everything in his personal profile regarding what he wants. So then he waits a little bit and watches him. He stops and watches him continue on to the bridge, and then he starts following him. He catches up to him at the end of the bridge, and that's where the audio of him saying, guys, down the hill, is caught by Libby's phone. Now, he didn't see Libby's phone when she caught that video. He didn't know that they had a phone on them at all. He was so excited that he was going to do this, he wasn't even thinking about a phone. All he could think about is what he was going to do, the end game. So they had seen him initially when they were going one way, he was going back. When they saw him, Libby and Abby were very intuitive. They felt creeped out by this man because he looked at them. He looked at them when they were crossing paths on the bridge with, it was so creepy to them. All I could feel is chills down my back. And so then they decided to proceed. Abby was like, I don't like this. Let's go back. And Libby's like, he's going back there. I don't want to go back where he's going. Let's just continue on. So Libby wasn't counting on the fact that this guy was going to turn around, and he did. And he's a fast walker. This guy's this RA is a fast walker. So he ends up coming back, and that's when he says, guys, down the hill. So then they notice that he has a firearm on him, and they're under his control. It's all about control. It is an SA fantasy for this guy, and it's also a control thing for him. That was his SA fantasy, was the control part. But also the fact that Libby looked a lot like his daughter. It was eerie how much they looked alike, as well as the previous victim 10-ish years before that. So anyway, guys get down the hill and they do what he says because they know they suspect he's got a firearm, and so they do what he says. It's a steep hill, so they go down this hill and they get to the bottom and they reach a creek. And that is where he has them remove clothing because he was afraid that after crossing, because he was following them, he wasn't ahead of them, he was behind them. He was afraid before he got to the bank of the creek that one of them or both of them would take off running, and his fantasy would be over. So he had them take their clothing off. Now I'll tell you, Libby, well, both Libby and Abby are smart little cookies, okay? So Libby, realizing he didn't understand or didn't know that she had that phone on her, when she took her clothes off, she tied her jeans up like in a knot to make sure that the phone didn't come loose. But he was so involved in his fantasy, he didn't realize, he wasn't paying attention to the fine details of what was going on. So she was able to do that. And he took all their clothes because he didn't want them to have it as they crossed the creek. Now they still had their regular, like their underwear on when they were crossing. And when they reached the other side is when he made them take off not Abby's, but Libby's bra. And the rest of the undergarments, the panties. So, and then he was in his fantasy from there, right? Girls were terrified. They went up the bank. And Abby was the first one that he had eliminated. But before he did that, he did tell her to get dressed. Now, this is where both of those girls need an award. Because Libby looked at Abby, and they've known each other for so long, and looked at her clothes. Abby understood. She knew that she had to take Libby's clothes, put on her clothes to help conceal the phone, because at that, Abby's clothes wouldn't have been able to conceal the phone if she put on Libby's jeans. Now, I don't know if I'm getting too confusing here, but Libby's outfit was able to, when put on, to keep that phone hidden in the back pocket. So Libby, with her eyes, looked down at her clothes when he was telling Abby to get dressed. Looked down at her clothes and looked at Abby, looked down at her clothes and looked at Abby, and Abby understood. So Abby put on Libby's clothes. So he led both girls up on the bank at this point. And told Libby, after he got her up on the bank, them both up on the bank, he told Libby to stay where she's at, face down, and don't look up. Because he had a weapon And Libby knew that if she felt like if she didn't, do what he was telling her to do, that her friend Abby would be in danger. So she did what she was told. So he took Libby off and used an edge weapon across her throat. This isn't in the same spot that they found the girls. So then he comes back to where Libby is. Tells Libby to get up. She gets up. And then he takes her to another spot, not far from where the girls were found by the police. And he then has her do certain things. He has a phone on him, and I sure hope the police officers are able to gather information from that phone, because he took pictures that day. He took pictures. So during this time, Abby, it's rather barren land, lots of trees, but no leaves, like fresh leaves. It was all, barren trees. She looks over, because he was telling her, just look at me. I want you to look at me. She chances a look off to her side where she saw Abby, and she freaks out and she starts screaming. And then that's when he comes over and starts using the edged weapon on Libby. Because he didn't want to be discovered. Because she was screaming. She wasn't able to scream that much because it was a blitz attack. But Libby fought for her life. Libby was a strong girl, and he was surprised how strong she was. She definitely fought for her life. Also, she definitely she wasn't pleading for her life when this was all going down. She was very upset. And she was like this very sweet girl, okay? But don't upset her, because she will in her life, she was known for being so sweet, but also tough when it needed to be tough, when she needed to be tough, when the circumstances required it. Oh, she was calling him names. She was doing everything in her, because she knew at that point she wasn't getting out of there alive. Tough girl. So then, after he's done with Libby, which isn't too far from the site than where they found the girls, he moves her and he moves Abby to one spot. But after he was done with Libby, I keep jumping back and forth and I apologize. It's just the way the images are forming in my mind. But after he was done with Libby, he's like, what now? What am I going to do? So he goes around and decides that he wants to put them both in one spot. So he goes and he finds this one spot. He doesn't want to move them too far because they're heavy to move. So the F in the tree. What the heck is it? Right? What is it? So after Libby, his knife was very bloody in his hands. And he goes to this spot and he leans up against the tree and he still has that edged weapon in his hand. And that's where that came from, guys. It wasn't intentionally drawn. There were no odinists involved in this. This was RA, specifically only him. This is only him. Leans up against the tree with that knife in his hand, just looking around. He's scared now because he did what he did. He's done it once before, but he's after the deed. He's scared. He needs to get out of there. So he decides, well, this is the spot I want to put him. And so he ends up dragging them into this one spot, right? Where they found him. There is nothing to cover these bodies with, people, except for tree branches. There was nothing regarding any type of odinistic runes that was displayed on them. Now, when it comes to, it was Abby, there were little two branches that stuck out on either side of her head. Yeah, he did that on purpose, but nothing else. He just placed the branches on them because he was just thinking, I just gotta have to cover them up, and he was thinking they wouldn't be found right away, and just, he wasn't thinking clearly. This man was just not thinking clearly. But the two horns, he thought it would be more like a clue. Or not a clue. It was more of a signature, I'd like to say. It was a signature on his part. The two little horns above Abby's head. It was a hunter's joke. The deer was too young to die. It was in his, this is in his mind, right? So when you're hunting deer, you have to have a certain amount of horn. I don't know the proper terminology for it, but it's like horn spikes. You're not allowed to, it's a mistake when you shoot one that's young, and the young ones display, they're not old enough when they display just the two horns that don't have the splayed out formations on them. Spokes, I think is what they're called. So Abby was she wasn't meant to, and he wasn't there for her. He was there for Libby. And that was, in a sense, I guess there's a lot of people, right? That was his sacrifice, right? Now, it's really amazing to me when the human collective consciousness comes together, and they have these certain feelings, right? They're like, well, it's got to be a sacrifice. It feels right. Well, yeah, I really feel like everybody's right when it comes to this, because Abby was the sacrifice for him to get to Libby. So he ends up, he did take some articles of clothing. It was Libby's underwear and one sock. It was her underwear and sock. And he ends up going straight up out of the woods. He doesn't go back through the trail. He goes out of the woods onto a road and heads back to his car from the road. So that's where people had seen him. Now, there is more evidence against this man than what is being portrayed. And this will all come to light when the court happens, when it happens. When his trial begins. It'll end up coming out as that all proceeds, goes down the line. But there is DNA evidence. There's also, and I don't know if I'm telling anybody anything different in this part, but they have more evidence against this man than what they're able to reveal at this moment. I wouldn't be surprised if there's photos of juveniles on his computer, and you know what I'm talking about, on his phone. Hopefully they're able to extract that information. It has been how many years? 6 years? 7 years? I don't know. 6 years? 7 years. So, gonna be 7 years soon. So, they are going to find more information, extracting information from those phones. They're going to be able to put together the pieces, the puzzle pieces, and after that, there really will not be any doubt regarding this man's being guilty or not. But I also want to say something. There's a threat down the road. And I see this fork in the road a few years down from when he gets convicted, and that is a mistrial, and he's going to have to be retried. You know, I feel like the families are strong. Libby and Abby's families are so strong. But this is going to be so tough for them. And I want everybody to please send them love and light regarding this now, and what they are probably going to feel down the road when this gets opened up again. So if there's any questions, I think a lot of this was mainly, is the Odinist involved? No. Did he act alone? Absolutely yes. Yes, he did. Did he do this before? Yes, he did. About 10, 11 years prior to that. Now, he also, I want to tell you guys that he had a tendency to be a peeping Tom, and that led a lot to feeding his fantasies. He was a peeping Tom. He liked to watch people, hunt people. That was his game. It was until, it's like he does this until his fantasy is way too much for him to deal with and he has to do something about it, and then boom, he's got to do something. I really truly believe that Abby and Libby has prevented this man from continuing on and doing what he did to them. I really do. They're heroes. They really are. All right. So I am going to end this now. Let me know. I'm sure there's going to be questions. It was very difficult for me to connect to this case because it's so dark. It's just heavy. It's like, it's heavy energy, and it takes a lot to want to enter into that energy. So in my next video, I'll tell you how I do this. I know it's not the regular traditional way of reading tarot cards, but I'll teach you if you want to know how I read my cards. And I'll put that in the next video. So, okay. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. I guess hit the subscribe button, share, like, whatever, if you want to. And I will catch you later. Thanks. Bye-bye.